Hello folks, welcome back, and we are back at it again. I'm going to take this tank off. I don't know how many times I've taken it off and how many times Freddie's taken this tank off. But yeah, so get this removed. I'm not going into the details of what I'm doing yet, but we're going to dig in and see if we find anything mysterious in this engine. Cam cover off, generator cover off, and let's get a look inside. Generator cover. Now, one thing I have noticed, where the alternator wires come out, down here. Oh. It's leaking. It's a real Triumph. On the move. Magnet in here. That's what is pulling the cover back on. And there's a generator. So you can see here we've got R denoted by this line lined up with the casting here. So that's the timing mark for the crank. Hopefully you can see that. You might have to go a bit closer.
I don't know if it gets blurry when
if not, I'll steal the picture out of the manual. There's another mark for L, which is for the 270° crank, which is in the Scrambler, the Speedmaster and the America. This is only applicable to the standard T100, the SE and the Thruxton. So you correlate this line to some marks on the cam wheel. So you can see here it says top, and this is supposed to be central to the top of that gear when we're at this position on the crank. And if we go around the other side, so on this gear it says exhaust here, and you've got two lines there and a dash on this one. So those do correlate to each other. So this is geared correct to this gear, and the same down here, there to there. So they're engaged to this gear correctly, but this gear is in the wrong position. So it is the next day, and I've been having a bit of a think. Now, what I didn't show as clearly in the last little bit of footage was we're still lined up with the time mark at the crank, and I did point out about top not being at the top where it should be. Also, there are two lines on this gear which should be exactly horizontal and parallel with these machine faces when you're in the correct position, which clearly they're not. So the cam time is definitely out. On top of that, on these you will notice that the cam gears are split. So you've got a really thin gear kind of butted up against this main driven gear, and this is a backlash gear. It's spring loaded, and it's supposed to take out the chatter and any of the harsh loading onto the camshaft, and those are set by lining up holes in this gear to holes in the other gear. There's a different diameter, and there's a special tool to engage them in the correct position. Doesn't seem like they've been done, so they've been allowed to relax off. So we're going to have to sort that. There are other things at play, which I'll get into later on in this video. But what I am going to do, just for curiosity, I'm going to set these cams, if it's possible, into the safe position. And what that means is at a point where none of the valves are open. If you can get it to that position for each camshaft, what that will mean is you've got no strain on the camshaft along its length from the valve springs, which means when you undo these caps, you're not twisting or trying to bend the camshaft. It's much easier to bring it out evenly. But what I need to do is back these caps off and the oil feed. I then need to remove the camshafts. I need to slacken off the cam chain tensioner, get this gear moved and move the chain round. Time up the centre gear first, then we'll drop the camshafts back in, tighten these all down. Then what I'm going to do, I'm not going to run the engine because we've obviously got the air leak on that side and various things, but I'm going to rerun the compression test. If we're suddenly back up at 175 or somewhere in that region, we know we're all good lower down, and then we'll get into the next step. So first thing, get these camshafts out and we'll start timing this up. Okay, so let's get started. First thing to remove is the oil pump feed. So this oil feed has got 2 copper washers, which don't look like they've ever been changed. Yeah, they're not new. Let's get these cams into a safe position. So we're good here, but we are engaged there. So we're good there, pretty close there. So I'm going to turn the crank just a touch. H10. So here we go. Turn the crank just a touch. There we go. We're just going to get the exhaust cam safe first. So that position there, I think. So we are, yeah, we're just coming off lift. So a little bit more. Okay. So that cam is now in the safe position. And by that, hopefully you can see, so we've got as little lift on here as we can get. So these are parallel this way, and on this side as little lift on here as we can. So start backing those caps out now, nice and even. We just crack them loose and then steadily work them away. So they're a TX30. Just for info, the crank pulley is a 10mm hex. So there's that, just cracking those loose. Do apologise if you can't see what I'm doing. Just loose. Just loose. Just loose. I'm going to do this nice and even. Each of these caps. As I said previously, ordinarily you would put the backlash locking tool in before doing this, but these haven't been set. So here we go. So those are starting to ease up now. As you can see, I'm just taking a little bit off each side, like so. Taking any of that strain out. Just ease those caps up. If you've got any spring pressure under here, you'll know straight away, because the caps will move firm to the bolts. So this is backing out really nice and steady. Now this is right here. This is probably me being a little bit, maybe too cautious, or more cautious than I would normally be. But these camshafts don't belong to me, so it's just not worth the risk. Okay, let's grab my screwdriver-esque extension. I'm going to ease these out. So yeah, you can see with these caps all loose, that camshaft hasn't moved. You've got the free float there, but that camshaft hasn't tried to spring up, so there is no stress or strain in there whatsoever. Hopefully that's clear. So let's get this camshaft out. Okay, and that one's got all of its dowels, so we're happy there. Okay, and out comes our camshaft. Just a bit of oil stiction, so that's okay. So I'm just going to put him on the bench. Just temporarily. Let's drop the caps back in. And this is exactly what I would do. And you could put it on a piece of cardboard and mark it all out, but if they're in here, in the right place where they came from, there's no risk of ever getting them mixed up. So for me, that's the safer bet. So then we're just going to turn this one to the safe position. Now, so what we got? There we go, much the same. They're parallel to each other. These bolts aren't very tight at all. They're M6 and they're generally down to 10 Newton meters. But we'll go through all that when we put it back together. And out he comes. So I'm going into some detail on this, but not extensive, which will become apparent later on in this video. But I've just done that bit of footage taking the cams out, and I've put all these cam caps back where they were. I've dropped the cam chain tensioner out and got the front chain guide out, which allows enough slack that you can actually lift the chain and move the centre drive gear. So you can see we are still on the timing mark. We're now correct at the top. We're parallel with the cylinder head. And I was taking a lot. I was just about to drop the cams back in to do this compression test. And I had noticed some scribing, but I hadn't looked. But these caps are all numbered. And they're numbered front left, along, and then across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And these are exactly as they came out of the bike. I've just literally dropped them back in. But I don't know if this is going to pick up on the camera. If not, I'll take some photos anyway. Insert that. But you can see, so this is number 6, and he's in position number 6. And there's a nice little arrow here that shows that's where he lives. This one is number 4. And you can see he's number 4 and the arrow is backwards, so he should be over here. And then he is number 5, so he should be here. He's number 2, so he should be here. And he then is number... One, 2, 3. He's number 3. That took a little bit of reading, but he's number 3. So he should be over here. So this, yeah, that's exactly as it came apart, and they've gone back in those places at the moment. I am going to correct that for the compression test, and then we'll have a bit of a chat. So my camera person is in the house, preoccupied, so I'm going to attempt to do this on my own. Now, one thing I will say, if you're going to do a compression test with the valve train open and the side of the motor open, inevitably you're going to get some oil spread about the place, so you've got a bit of cleaning up to do. I don't mind that because this whole bike needs going through, but that is what it is. The other thing to mind is, if you're going to do it with the valve train open, a lot of turning things and chains and whatnot, just make sure everything isn't going to get pulled into the motor and chewed up and damage things and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I got a push plunge ended compression tester, so you just hold that firm in the spark plug hole. I have got a fly lead for it, but this works. So literally just got to hold this in here. I then need throttle wide open and hit the start button, and we'll see what sort of compression we've got. Also to note, this battery hasn't been on charge. This has been sat in here for a week and a bit now, with no charge, and I'm going to fully crank on the start motor, so we'll see if the battery's not discharged. So all clear, wide open throttle, and there we are. So what figure have we got? 170 psi. Let's go again on this side. Wide open throttle. £170 psi. Looks like we found all the compression. So I got some oil to clean up. It's spattered about the place, but that is a really good sign, a really good find. Cam timing was out, it's now correct, and we have our compression back. 175, 170, 175, somewhere in that region. Tallies up with my scrambler, tallies up with the numbers in the book, and it also tallies up with what Chris at Ultimate Twin Power has said to me on the phone. So I'm very, very happy with that. Now, there is an elephant in the room that hasn't been mentioned. I was waiting to talk to Freddie about this, but if you go way back to the video of me picking this bike up, he mentioned to me that when this went for inspection after it broke down the last time, the person who had taken it apart said when they took the spark plug out, it pulled the thread out.
There's also potentially an issue with the spark plug coil.
Yep.
So if that just all comes out, the spark plug and the coil around it, I don't know if there's going to be an issue there or not. I really have no idea at all. I'm just saying it because I know that's work that's been done.
Now, when I've been working on this, I took the spark plug out to do a compression test, and obviously we've had it back in for the adaptions. When I took it out, there was no evidence of thread damage in terms of aluminium or part of the insert on the end of the spark plug. Did the compression test, and I was put it back together to put it outside, and when I wound the plug back in, as it went down to seat on the sealing ring, it just didn't feel like it was taking up the threads. It certainly wouldn't have taken the torque. And I backed it out half a turn, and at half a turn from seated, there is free play and movement all over the place. So I'm going to show you that now. Okay, so I've got the spark plug in, and that is down to the seat and then backed out half a turn, and hopefully this will pick up on the camera. And that's in all directions. There we have it. That is not a happy spark plug thread. I haven't mentioned it because I wanted to speak to Freddie, and we needed to decide the best course of action for him and what he wanted to do, and in the throes of this, prove that this engine and this bike is salvageable before chucking any money at it. Now he's asked me what I think he should do or what we should do in order to solve this, and I said to him, I says it could go back together and it will run, and that spark plug has been in that there, and we've had it running the adaptions outside. I says, and it will run if this works out to be the cam timing. But I don't want to give him the bike back and then 6 months down the line it throws another plug out of this side and he's going to be at the side of the road thinking, I'm back here we go again, start from scratch. So I suggested we need a replacement cylinder head, so that's what we're looking for at the moment. We've got a couple of leads, we're going to be speaking to a few people, but yeah, until then, that's the end of this episode, and it looks like we're starting from scratch. But it will be right, and it will work, and we've proven we've got compression, piston barrels are absolutely fine. Obviously we're going to take the head off, so we will see in there anyway, and yeah, onwards. So thank you for joining me, thank you for everybody that's commented, click like, subscribe. Larry Griffin, I'm hoping that's the correct name, I had it written down. He's the first person to go onto the Buy Me a Coffee link, and he bought several coffees for me and Emily, so when we're out on the bike we will fully enjoy that, and thank you very much, mate, really appreciate the support. So yeah, everybody else, click like, subscribe, all the good stuff down below. We will definitely see you in the next episode, and that one could be interesting.